Jimmy Armfield's downfall began the moment he left the field to become a manager. Despite his deep love for the game and years of dedication, he was unjustly fired, bringing his managerial career to an abrupt and unfair end. One harsh decision, and just like that, the career he had poured so much into was over. It was a cruel twist of fate for a man who had given football everything. His managerial career, while solid, never quite reached the heights of his playing days. He had some positive results and certainly proved his ability to rebuild teams, but he never became a true managerial legend. In 1971, he became the manager of Bolton Wanderers. It was a fresh start for him in management, and, in just his second season, he achieved success, guiding Bolton to promotion to the second division as third division champions in the 1972-1973 season. It was a solid start to his managerial career, but things were about to get even more intense. In 1974, Armfield took over at Leeds United, stepping into a massive role as he replaced Brian Clough, who had only lasted a brief time at the club. Armfield's task was a daunting one. He wasn't just replacing Clough. He was following in the footsteps of Don Revie, one of the most successful and respected managers in English football. Revie had built Leeds into a powerhouse, and the team had seen great success under his leadership. But by the time Armfield arrived, the squad was ageing, and it was clear that rebuilding was necessary. With the help of his assistant Don Howe, Armfield took on the challenge of rejuvenating the team. He brought in new faces, including Tony Curry and Brian Flynn, and worked hard to bring the best out of the existing players. Under his management, Leeds remained competitive. They never finished outside the top 10 in the league, and he managed to guide the team to the UEFA Cup. Armfield also led Leeds to the semi-finals of the FA Cup in 1976-77 and the League Cup in 1977-78, showing that his managerial skills were starting to pay off. His most memorable moment as Leeds manager came in 1975, when he led the team to the European Cup final. It was an enormous achievement, putting Leeds on the European stage, but the final itself would end in heartbreak. Leeds faced Bayern Munich, and despite putting up a strong fight, the match ended with a 2-0 loss. What made the defeat even more bitter was the controversial refereeing decisions that many believed had a significant impact on the outcome. Leeds fans in particular felt deeply wronged by the referee's calls, and the result sparked a lot of frustration and anger within the club and its supporters. The loss to Bayern Munich marked the peak of Armfield's time at Leeds, but it also highlighted the challenges he faced. He had inherited a team that was still living in the shadow of Revie's success, and despite his efforts to rebuild, the pressure was always on him to live up to those high standards. The controversial loss in the European Cup only intensified the feeling of injustice among Leeds fans, and tensions were running high. In the end, despite Armfield's solid work at Leeds, his time in charge came to an end in July 1978, when he was dismissed and replaced by Celtic manager Jock Stein. Many felt that this decision was unfair, given the improvements Armfield had made and the difficulties he had inherited. The fact that Leeds had reached the European Cup final and remained a top team under his guidance showed that he was capable, but in the world of football, results often speak louder than anything else. The situation was made worse by the backlash from Leeds supporters, who were devastated by the defeat to Bayern Munich and angry at the dismissal of Armfield. Some even resorted to riots, expressing their discontent with the way things had turned out. It was a turbulent time for the club, and Armfield's departure marked the end of an era, as he left behind a team that had been competitive but never quite able to reach the heights of the Don Revie days. Despite the way things ended at Leeds, Armfield's time at the club showed his resilience and ability as a manager. He may not have had the success he wanted, but he managed to keep Leeds competitive and rebuild a team that could hold its own in European and domestic competitions. That determination was rooted in a lifetime devoted to football, a journey that began in 1935 when he was born to Christopher and Doris Armfield. Growing up in Denton, his family moved to Blackpool during the Second World War, a change that would set the stage for a remarkable career. One day, Armfield was playing in a practice match at Bloomfield Road when Blackpool's manager, Joe Smith, spotted him. Armfield, playing on the left wing that day, scored all of Blackpool's goals in a stunning 4-1 victory. Impressed by his performance, Smith immediately offered him a trial. Armfield's football talent shone early on, but he wasn't just a gifted player. He was a focused, hard-working young man who made sure to finish his education before fully pursuing his career. After completing his studies at Arnold School in Blackpool and obtaining his higher school certificate, he joined Blackpool at the age of 17. It wasn't long before he made his debut for the team. On December 27, 1954, Armfield stepped onto the pitch for his first league match, facing Portsmouth at Fratton Park. It wasn't an easy start for the young defender. He was up against Gordon Dale, a seasoned winger with plenty of experience, and as Armfield later recalled, he really gave me the runaround. The game ended in a 3-0 defeat, and Armfield realised just how much he still had to learn about the game. But that was the beginning of his growth. Despite the tough start, he was determined to improve and prove himself. Over the next few years, Armfield became a central figure in Blackpool's lineup. In the 1955-56 season, the team achieved what is still their highest ever finish in the Football League, securing second place in the First Division. It was a major accomplishment for the club, and Armfield played an important role in their success. He continued to develop and gain recognition for his performances, earning the title of Young Player of the Year in 1959. A few years later, in 1961, he was named Granada TV's Sports Outlook Northern Sports Star of the Year, further solidifying his place as one of the rising stars in English football. During his time at Blackpool, Armfield achieved a great deal personally, but the team's successes were more limited. While they had won the FA Cup just before he joined, Blackpool didn't manage to secure many major trophies during his time there. However, they did earn a big achievement by gaining promotion back to the First Division in the 1969-70 season, which was a bright spot in an otherwise quiet period for the club. In September 1970, Blackpool showed their appreciation for Armfield by honouring him with a testimonial match on his 35th birthday. Thousands of fans turned out to celebrate his contributions to the club. A year later, on May 1st, 1971, Armfield played his final match for Blackpool in front of over 30,000 fans at Bloomfield Road against Manchester United. It was an emotional day, not just because it was his farewell, but because it marked the last time Blackpool played in the top flight of English football for almost 40 years. After a 10-game injury layoff, Armfield came back just in time to make his final appearance. His career wasn't just about his club football. He also made a significant mark on the international stage. Between 1959 and 1966, he earned 43 caps for England and captained his country 15 times. At the 1962 World Cup in Chile, Armfield was recognised as the best right-back in the world and was named best right-back in Europe for several years, a testament to his skill and consistency. However, his international career wasn't without its challenges. A groin injury in 1964 kept him out of England's summer schedule, and George Cohen of Fulham took his place. Despite working hard to regain his spot, Armfield missed out on the 1966 World Cup, though he was included in the squad. While he didn't play during England's historic victory, he was eventually awarded his World Cup medal in 2009, after a campaign led by the Football Association to recognise all the squad members. In May 2007, he revealed on BBC Radio Lancashire that he had been undergoing chemotherapy for non-Hodgkin lymphoma in his throat. Despite the challenges, he remained optimistic about his future, though his doctors advised him to rest. Thankfully, the cancer was successfully treated, but it made a return in November 2016. Sadly, Armfield passed away from the disease in 2018 at the age of 82. His legacy lives on, especially with his induction into Blackpool's Hall of Fame in 2006, when he also had the honour of officially opening the hall. In 2019, the FA further honoured him by unveiling the Jimmy Armfield briefing room at St George's Park, a fitting tribute to a man whose influence on football will never be forgotten. And that's a wrap for today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an update. See you next time. Bye.